The episode begins with a girl getting heckled by her boyfriend. He tells her if they want to go anywhere, she would be the one paying for it. She retaliates with a kick, but he blocks it and throws her to the ground and further insults her as he leaves. She is then seen in class moping to her friends about how her first boyfriend broke up with her. Her friends tried to warn her, but she thinks he looks like Ken Takakura, her version of the perfect man. Her friends destroy her confidence and tell her men like that don't exist anymore. She walks through the school hallway, feeling dejected when she sees a boy at the back of the class getting bullied. She intervenes and the bullies stop as she is curious to find out what he is reading as she thinks about how lame people are for bullying others. She gets up and leaves the class as she walks down the hall and talks to herself. The boy who was bullied earlier tells Momo he knows why she is in love. He asks her if she is in the occult and further goes on a rant about aliens, and she, being frustrated, completely dismisses him, hurting his feelings. Feeling sorry, Momo then later apologizes and tells him she doesn't believe in aliens, but in ghosts. He laughs at her and explains to her that ghosts aren't real. They then make a bet. Momo says if ghosts are real, then the boy will be her gopher. The boy, Occult-kun, tells her if aliens are real, then she will be his gopher. Later, Momo is seen in Nagi Hospital, a UFO hotspot. Simultaneously, Occult-kun is at a spiritual hotspot tunnel in attempts to prove that ghosts don't exist. As the two argue back and forth, Momo tells Occult-kun the reason why she believes in ghosts is because her grandmother was a medium. A flashback shows that she was always forced to do a ritual while walking to school by her grandmother, and she was made fun of as a result. Momo explains that she still loves her grandmother because she was always nice to her and grew her up, and this is why she believes in ghosts. Momo then asks Occult-kun why he believes in aliens, to which he replies that he doesn't need a reason to like something. Just then, Occult-kun spots a yokai named Turbo Granny. Occult-kun then tries to sprint to the end of the tunnel, but Momo warns him not to let the granny outrun him or he will be cursed. As the phone loses connection and Momo tries to run for the exit, she is met by three mysterious men who capture her, rip her clothes off, and strap her to a chair. These three men, the Serpoians from the planet Serpo, explain to Momo that they can only reproduce through clone technology and have decided to extract Momo's uterus after sex. As the Serpoians try to use psychokinesis to arouse Momo's sexual desire, she resists them. Just as they were about to physically force her, her cell phone rings. A foot kicks the alien through the phone. The Turbo Granny, who has possessed Occult-kun, bites one of the Serpoians' sack. The aliens and the cursed Occult-kun battle. Although formidable, the aliens overpower Occult-kun with their psychokinesis abilities. He reflects on how he always wanted to see aliens and thought they were friendly. He has always been an outcast and bullied because he was different. However, Momo was the only one who stood up for him, and for that he vows to protect her, but is struck down from another attack from the aliens. Momo, who is about to be overwhelmed by the aliens' psychic powers, remembers the instructions her grandmother gave her. Momo then surprisingly activates immense psychic powers, overpowering the aliens and breaking out of their clutches and defeating the Serpoians. As Momo tries to find Occult-kun to escape the spaceship, she is then attacked by him. Momo tries to free Occult-kun from the Turbo Granny's curse, but was only able to retrieve his body. The Turbo Granny's spirit explains to Momo that she has his weenie, and in order to lift the curse, she needs to come to the tunnel in order to get it, then vanishes. Panic ensues as the spaceship crashes. However, Momo and Occult-kun come out unscathed. As the two leave the ship, they both realize that aliens and ghosts exist. Occult-kun then gets up and leaves Momo, telling her that he will find a way to break the curse himself. They then share a solemn moment as she realizes that he is actually Ken Takakura, shocking her. The couple continue arguing about his name, but soon as Momo loses focus, Ken gets partially taken over by the Turbo Granny. She quickly throws him into the wall, breaking the curse, and he thanks her. Frustrated, Momo tells him his new name will be Okarun because he likes the occult. They argue, but he accepts the name. Okarun ends up farting in Momo's face, and they begin to argue, but Okarun explains to her that she is pressuring him too much. As they argue, the sun rises, and Momo theorizes that the curse should not be active in the day and invites Okarun to her place. As they stand in the front of the entrance of her grandmother's residence, Momo warns Okarun that her granny almost killed her last boyfriend, shocking him. As he tries to enter, he is instantly set ablaze. Momo quickly throws him into the water and realizes that the residence is protected by a talisman that wards off evil and misfortune. She takes the talisman off the wall, and as Okarun walks in, she makes fun of his hair. Later, Momo tries to change her clothes, but when she closes the door, Okarun's curse comes back. Ashamed, she tries to cover herself as Okarun barges in while she was changing. Momo then uses her psychic powers to slam him to the wall, stopping the curse. After she gets dressed, she gives him clothes to put on and wonders if his weenie is really missing and asks to see what it looks like, making Okarun freak out. They argue, and Momo's harsh remarks make Okarun emotional. As she draws near to him to apologize, he insults her and they begin fighting. Suddenly, they hear a weird noise coming from the door. They then realize that they forgot to put the talisman back on the wall. Afraid, they sneak out the back door where they are met with a black cloud over the residence. Without warning, the compound is completely encased with stone. Momo can't put the talisman on the wall because it would incinerate Okarun. Momo and Okarun then start bleeding from their noses from a mysterious black fog. Suddenly, a huge monster appears before them and tries to kill them. They run for their lives as the monster assumes a sumo wrestling stance. It then releases poison from its mouth, prompting Okarun to come up with an idea. He proposes for her to use her powers to release the Turbo Granny curse to take over his body, but keep his mind clear. She reluctantly agrees, as the monster attacks and all hope seems lost. Okarun, who has merged with the Turbo Granny, saves Momo. Momo, who is shocked by the transformation, asks about his mental state, as his demeanor and speech are awkward. He affirms that his mind is clear and casually walks to the monster. The monster attacks, and in a swift strike, he cuts its fingers off. The monster then looks him in the eyes as he vomits blood and is pulled to safety by Momo. Okarun explains to Momo that the curse has put immense pressure on his body because of the speed in which he moves. Momo notices its sumo wrestling stance and theorizes if they can get him to fall on his hands, they can win. Okarun then transforms and charges at the monster along with Momo, then severs the monster's leg. His hand touches the ground as he starts to melt, but he recovers. The monster smashes Momo into the wall. Okarun starts to get completely taken over by the curse, but Momo saves him. Momo taunts the monster as he punches her deeper into the wall, pushing her out of the gate. She then cunningly uses her psychic powers to pull Okarun to her, as well as the talisman, then places it back on the pole, incinerating the monster. They tightly embrace as things return to normal. Momo, relieved that the threat is over, quickly stops Okarun's curse from spreading again and compliments him on his hairstyle. Exhausted, Momo faints and the curse completely takes over Okarun. The episode opens with a TV scene of an idol being asked questions about his personal life by a medium who goes by the name Dodoria. Dodoria tries to guess the right answers, but they are all seemingly wrong. After the TV show ends, two directors ask whether or not they should scrap the show. One of them says to keep the show and air it because no one ever watches local stations. Later, Dodoria is seen in a taxi where the driver asks her if she can give him a prediction instead. She insults him. Okarun, who is now completely taken over by the Turbo Granny's curse, prepares to attack Momo, but just then Dodoria attacks Turbo Granny with a nail and a piece of wood, throwing her into the water. She taunts Turbo Granny. Enraged, Turbo Granny retaliates with blinding speed and tries to kill Dodoria. But she was instantly incinerated and trapped in a circle created by Dodoria. Turbo Granny tries to escape the circle, but the barrier burns her hand. Dodoria then draws a line in her circle, which shortens the space in Turbo Granny's circle. Turbo Granny threatens Dodoria, and they argue back and forth, but she hits her with a bat. As Dodoria is about to kill Turbo Granny, she blocks the attack and tells her if she dies, then Okarun will as well. She cuts the circle anyway, and Turbo Granny is set on fire. The scene switches to Momo awaking from exhaustion in a panic. She runs downstairs and meets Dodoria watching TV. Frustrated, Momo presses Dodoria for answers on the whereabouts of Okarun. But Dodoria sarcastically gives her answers about her not believing in ghosts. Out of options, Momo apologizes to Dodoria in hopes that she can find Okarun. Dodoria tells her that he is in the shrine. She races to see Okarun, who is in perfect health. However, he can't leave the shrine because the Turbo Granny's curse will reactivate. Momo explains to Dodoria that the Turbo Granny took his ding-dong and will be cursed until he gets it back. She goes on to say that she now has psychic powers that were activated when she had to fight the aliens, to which Dodoria replies that aliens don't exist. Momo goes on to tell Dodoria that she needs to find a way to break the curse. Dodoria tells a story of Turbo Granny, a bound spirit who is attached to one location. Dodoria goes on to say that there is also another spirit that is also bound in this location, and she was unable to exorcise the spirit because the two spirits are fused into one. She warns Momo not to go back to the tunnel, but Momo strengthens her resolve about saving Okarun. Dodoria teases her but helps her. Dodoria explains to Momo that Turbo Granny thinks no one can outrun her, so if she challenges her, she will accept. She goes on to tell Momo that she has to lure Turbo Granny outside of territory. That's where she will be at her weakest. Momo suggests that she uses her talisman to trap Turbo Granny, but she tells her that it can't happen because she is weak outside of her territory. Dodoria says that Okarun and Momo need to train in order to beat Turbo Granny. Momo and Okarun then share an intimate moment. The scene shifts to Momo trying to get some tea from the fridge and Dodoria watching TV. The pop idol from the beginning of the episode reveals all of the personal information that Dodoria asked was true. She scoffs, then changes the channel. The scene then shifts to Okarun wanting to pee, but he doesn't want Momo to watch. Dodoria, indifferent, tells him to just do it, but he refuses. Dodoria asks Momo how she is able to keep the curse off of him. She explains that she can see and manipulate auras. Okarun, at the end of the line, rushes into the house to use the bathroom. Momo and Dodoria try to stop him, but he successfully makes it. Okarun, frustrated, wants the curse to end. As Momo and Dodoria talk about how her powers work and how they can unlock them, the Turbo Granny completely takes over Okarun and tells Momo that the curse is contagious and she can curse anyone who Okarun looks at. She warns Momo that if she doesn't come to the tunnel tonight, she will kill everyone that Okarun looks at and disappears. Later that night, Dodoria gives them ghost-proof clothes and warns them to be careful, else they could die. Dodoria embraces Momo as they leave on a train to defeat the Turbo Granny.